What up to the virtual world? Happy Saturday. It's actually Friday. A little pre-record here. So Chelsea here with ROCovery Fitness, coming at you live, almost live. And we're going to do some recovery talk today. And I'm going to bring on a special guest today, somebody who is a very good friend of mine, somebody who's been a really big part of not only my support, but a big part of the community. So we're going to bring him on and get to know his story a little bit. So I'd love to introduce, he always does this on his videos, so I'm excited to do it. K-Rugs, the Soberdog.
Yeah.
There he is, Soberdog himself.
Thank you for having me on. Yeah, you're like, woo, woo.
Yeah. Got the Soberdog here. I'm super excited to have you on.
Thank you.
It's been a while. So Kyle is here with me today. We're going to, again, talk a little bit about recovery, kind of what Kyle's journey was like. And I would love for our audience to get to know Soberdogs a little bit. Kyle's got an awesome, amazing recovery website that he's going to tell you a little bit about. And Kyle's just been a really big inspiration for me. I've known Kyle for maybe a year or two now. We worked at the restaurant together for a while. And had that commonality of recovery itself. And he's just been a good support and a good friend. And I just love to see the different radio shows and different organizations that he helps out in the community. So Kyle is the true Soberdog himself. So Kyle, I would love to hear just, a little bit of your story and what kind of brought you into recovery.
Sure. Well, thank you for that excellent intro. And I think it's been like 3-4 years we've known each other.
Lose track of time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, recovery is huge to me, but it all started with, just typical addiction. I drank and I did drugs a little bit more than the average person I hung out with. But I also surrounded myself with kind of the group of people that partied. So it almost masked it a little bit because unfortunately, a couple of my good friends from that high school group are a couple in recovery, a couple still battling right now. But we all drank and did drugs excessively, but I didn't think it was that out of the ordinary at the time because they did it too. Fast forward, going through the end of high school and into college, I did very well in sports, and I played football my whole life. And I started getting concussions. I got a couple in high school football and a couple in college football. That, concussions are like the snowball effect. So each one gets progressively worse, even if it's not a worse hit necessarily. And those kind of culminated with the fifth one I got in college football. And at that point in time, my drinking and drug use of like cocaine and some other stuff like ecstasy definitely was different than the average person. But now I just lost my whole identity with football. I have all this extra time during the day at college, and I'm in, physical pain from my neck and my head with the concussions, and I got a prescription for painkillers. And it was unfortunately like off to the races. I wanted to do the right thing and take them as prescribed and try to get back on the field. But then the decision came that I couldn't ever play again just to risk the damage to the brain. So, I really tried for a couple of weeks to not abuse them. And then it just started taking them with alcohol and got worse. The next 4 or 5 years were just a disaster of, I say slow, but it was, depending on the month, it was a steady upward progression, sometimes slow, sometimes fast, of painkillers, alcohol, eventually to heroin. And, pretty much at the end point there, it was, IV drug user, heroin, cocaine, multiple times a day. That all kind of came to a boil in May of 2013 when I got arrested and ended up doing 3.5 years in prison. That should have been a wake-up call, but, I guess I wasn't ready. I didn't take it serious in prison and used a lot of drugs in there. which landed me in a lot of solitary time, which was the worst experience of my life, period. Solitary is brutal. But when I got out, I didn't change anything. I didn't do anything different. And I went right back, and I got, violated on parole. And that time, something kind of just kicked me in the ass, just sorry if I can't say that, but just kicked me in the butt. It just, I don't know, something was different. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I wanted to do something different. And I ended up doing Willard, which is like the boot camp program for parolees, boot camp / rehab. And when I came out of there, I just was ready to try meetings, try ROCovery, try outpatient, try whatever, wherever, anything that could possibly help. And it's been a steady journey of recovery ever since. And every day is not perfect, but it is way better than the misery of active addiction.
Yeah. So, I can relate to so much of that. And, I've heard your story before, but it's always a powerful one to hear. And, you said something at one point, about when you got out of prison, you kind of went back to the same crowds, the same people, you're going back to doing the same things. And, it's just interesting to, get to know you today and see the type of willingness and effort that you put in today. But, that's such a good point too. When we come into recovery and we continue to hang out, in the same crowds and the same places, that very quickly leads just kind of back to doing the same old thing. And it really brings to mind one of my favorite sayings is, to get the things we've never had, we must do the things we've never done. And that includes making all those big changes. So thank you for sharing that.
That is so true.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, this old timer guy in prison asked me one time, he said, what are you going to do when you get out? And I said, I'm going to be sober. I'm going to do good for my family, all these different things. And he said, no, you're not. And I was so angry. Like, who the heck are you to tell me, no, I'm not? I was so mad at him. And he said, you know how I know you're not? I said, oh. And he said, look what you're doing in here. You're running around getting high, chasing drugs. You think there's a magic rainbow? The day you get out, you got to change now. And just like what you said, dead on. I wasn't willing and ready to change, but, it's all about changing people, places, things, activities, anything and everything possible to have a new life. That's so true. Such a great point.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I'm curious, kind of fast forward today, we're kind of in this, well, not kind of, but we're in this global pandemic, something that, none of us have ever experienced before. We're all kind of, treading new water here. And it can be a very scary and uncertain time for a lot of us. I was just at a meeting earlier where we were talking about, like our perspective on things. And we have the power of choice today to choose how we see that, So for me personally, I don't necessarily want to stay in that spot of fear and uncertainty. There's already so much of it, Yeah. So I don't want to stay in that uncertainty and that fear in my personal life. It just kind of leads me backwards. So I'm curious, kind of, how are you staying sober during this time of what's going on right now?
That's a great question. It's really sticking to kind of the core things, I've been taught at, various programs and meetings and stuff. The things that worked and helped in the beginning and all the way through, it's like go back to the basics or whatever. Calling people all the time. Doesn't matter. Somebody in recovery, somebody I met from a meeting, somebody I met from rehab. Sometimes it's because I'm struggling, and other times it's just to reach out, and maybe they are. But whatever, staying in touch, using social media and online things for positive. Zoom, meetings, Zoom recovery, ROCovery on Facebook. All the real talk recovery, any of these recovery videos, programs, whatever. And then, kind of the biggest to me is what you just said, keeping a positive and a good attitude and perspective, you know, and with me, that's exercise and meditation a lot of times, because, you know, if I let it, I will get drawn into a lot of the background noise of what's going on and not positive. Not that the pandemic's positive, but you know what I mean? Like the politics, the yelling, the arguing, and all that. So that's an active thing to stay away from that on a daily basis.
Absolutely. Those are all really good things. And, you know, it's interesting because those are some of the things that we learn very early on in recovery. And,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we still do those things today. You know what I mean? Like those things and those tools and the people that I've used very early on initially to get sober are sometimes like I have to return to those basics today. Yeah. So those are all great things. And you know, the remaining positive, we all know that that's easier said than done. You know, sometimes it's very easy to get wrapped up in the drama and the scariness of it all and letting fear overwhelm us. And that can be a really tough mental spot to be in. But, you know, I'm with you. You know, I firmly believe that if we genuinely do our best and, you know, remembering that our best is going to look different today than it does yesterday, than it does a week ago, you know, but if we genuinely do our best to continue to use those tools, to do the things that help us stay sober, to do our best to keep a positive mindset, not only keep one, but spread that positivity to others.
Yeah.
You know,
that's the key.
We'll be better off. You know?
It's so true. That's the key. It's contagious. The positive, all of it, like you said. And so, yeah, sometimes it's, you know, more of a, sometimes I'm not feeling it inside, just like you said, as much, but you know, I know how important it is to maybe spread that message to somebody else or just help them get through the day. And then 99 times out of 100, by doing that, it ends up affecting my attitude in a positive way anyway. So it's a win-win for everybody, just like you said.
Absolutely. And speaking of, you know, meditation and fitness, you know, those are some things that I use as well. You know, for those of you who are familiar with ROCovery, you know, we love those different pathways of, you know, doing fun things to stay fit and active, you know, and doing things that are good for our internal and our spiritual and, you know, like practicing meditation and mindfulness. So, you know, that kind of leads me, you know, Kyle, what is your journey with ROCovery been like for you in the past?
ROCovery is the rock of literally the rock of the recovery community in Rochester. I mean, they are involved with anybody and everybody recovery, every positive organization, everything from the sheriff and the DA to, you know, to the guy who just walks in the front door struggling. And that was pretty much me, how I got introduced to them. My mom told me, you know, there's this great place I hear about ROCovery, and they got like an actual center on Dewey Ave. We should go check it out. I'm an outgoing person, but when it's something that personal, especially my first couple months of recovery, I wasn't just the type to drive there and walk in and be like, hi. So one day we were around the corner and she said, let's stop in and just check it out. We walked in, there was a couple people there. I don't remember her name. The girl who greeted us was so nice. And then I saw a dog sitting on the chair and another dog ran up to me and I said, that's it. This place is awesome. Recovery and dogs, you got me sold. And then the last, you know, 2.5 years has just been building relationships with everybody there. You know, people like you I've known prior and then other people met through ROCovery. But, you know, going there for workouts, I've done my first ever yoga and multiple other yogas there, gone to meetings there, you know, just whatever ROCovery. The 5K last year was awesome. So many great people out there. They literally are the core of the recovery community in Rochester.
Yeah. I'm thinking back to the 5K and having all these wonderful memories flood back. It was an absolute blast, the 5K last year. So much fun. Yeah. But yeah, I can totally relate. You know, it can be kind of, you know, intimidating or a little awkward, you know, to walk in anywhere, not even just there, but any place, you know, brand new sober, who am I? What am I about? I don't even know how to, voice things sometimes. So yeah, I relate to that. Same thing. Like, it did take me a little while to get in there, but once I did, I was just greeted with such kindness and friendliness, and of course dogs too. That you got Brody coming up to you and just doggy kisses.
No judgment. That's what I loved. It was just whoever you are, come on in. What can we help you with? Or you want to just hang out for a half hour,
right?
But whatever. That's just awesome.
And they have always been just such a wonderful place, a wonderful safe place for people to really go. And I feel so blessed and full of gratitude to be able to, have only been part of that as a member, and now be able to work there and help other people as well. It's just like, I've never been at a point in my life where I can say, like, I love every part of my job. I've had jobs in the past where I love little bits and pieces, but never something where I really looked forward to going to work. And it's hard right now because the center, has been closed for a while, and the way we're connecting right now is all through virtual, like we're doing right now. But it's temporary. This too shall pass, and I believe that. But like we're the bottom of that is connection, no matter what.
That's
and whether it's through workouts and yoga in the past, or whether it's through our Facebook Live videos and connecting and talking to other members in the community. That's what's at the core and the heart of that is that connection.
That's so true. What do you mean you weren't excited to go hand out desserts all night? What are you talking about?
That's the exciting part. I think the exciting part of the restaurant is getting to eat desserts all night.
For anyone that doesn't know, Chelsea and I worked at the same restaurant for a couple years. So yeah, no, I get it. I loved working at the restaurant too, but sometimes it's not that, mentally stimulating, and it doesn't, fulfill your heart. It's just, it's a cool job, and I like all the people there, but it's not like, I'm dying of passion to get there,
Absolutely. And it's been a truly wonderful place to work for. Absolutely. I truly do love it there. There's a different kind of family and a different kind of connection there.
Sure.
So it's been a wonderful experience. I love the fast paced life of the restaurant too, but this was something that truly just came along out of the blue, unexpected. And I truly felt drawn to it. I truly felt, I was hesitant, but I felt, I was like, this has to mean something. Like, I have to be able to do something with my recovery. I have to be able to turn around and help other people the way that I've been helped. And when I think about that, you're also somebody I think of. You're also somebody who very much gives back and, helps out other organizations. And, backing up a few minutes ago to something you said, what's better, dogs in recovery? And, so here we are with the Soberdog himself. So, Kyle, I'm curious, tell us a little bit about dogs. How did you get that started?
Well, you just kind of said some of it with your story, but that was exactly it. Is I was, maybe 7-8 months out of prison, and I always, enjoyed public speaking, and I had never had a problem like being in front of people. I took a lot of public speaking in college, but I had like this extra energy and need to do something more, even after getting out of an 8-hour shift at work or whatever. That combined with, I would see like friends or parents of my friends at like the store, and they'd be like, "Oh, how you doing? So-and-so is just got out of this school and they're married and they're having a kid," or this and that. And I didn't want to lie, but at the same time, I didn't want to be like, "Oh, I'm the recovering heroin addict, just got out of prison." So I didn't know what to say, what they knew, what they didn't know. And then I just kind of came to a point of, let me just get it all out there. Maybe the combination of that will help me become more comfortable with it. But more importantly, somebody who's been through something similar, been through anything, can relate. And so, I just started writing like my story, and then kind of articles and like blog posts and stuff about addiction. And I got a lot of great feedback. So that it just blossomed into, kind of like a community, an online community of just kind of like you guys are without the physical sense, but networking with people in recovery. And one thing I've really tried to go towards, some of the content I put up can be more raw, especially about drugs specifically. But I think that's very important, because I cannot tell you how many times one of my parents who lived with me for years of active addiction has come into my room and said, I was just listening to you make that video. I can't believe that was something that's really a big deal, or that was a trigger. And they didn't know it for years living in the same house with me. But I think that's important info to get out for friends, family of, people struggling or anybody. Unfortunately, sometimes it could be a little raw or triggering for certain people in recovery. But it's necessary to hopefully help out other people.
Yeah, I think that's it's so great to when we talk about that, it's educating people really. Like you said, for people who are not we're all in recovery from something, but for people who are not in recovery from alcohol and drugs and don't struggle with a substance use disorder, it can be confusing, and there's, as we know, there's a lot of stigma and that's really attached to people who struggle with alcohol and drugs, and even in the recovery community, there's a lot of stigma too. Sure. And Kyle, I truly believe that, I've been able to learn in the past, 6 months to a year, but really the importance of educating other people, and the power of language and sharing those experiences. Kyle's got all sorts of very informative, really great videos on Soberdog's website, and all his other social media. I'll let him tell you about, but there's just such a variety of videos that you have that are all very educational. And while some of them are a little bit raw, it gives you a true picture of what it's like from the shoes and from the eyes of somebody who does struggle with addiction. And sure. the more we can educate that, the better off we are in moving forward and continuing to help people. So what are some of the things that you offer on Soberdogs? I know you've got a lot of great videos on there.
Yeah, I mean, I've done everything from, I got articles. The website is more articles of, the difference between crack and cocaine and the different signs to look for with addiction, to, five things I love about being sober, to rebuilding your life in sobriety. And also I do a lot about, prison and, what recovery was like in prison, what recovery wasn't like in prison, how addiction got me in more trouble in there, and how, unfortunately, just because someone's in jail doesn't mean they're sober, all those. And then I try to branch out. Something I've put up just about 2 weeks ago is just kind of I called it Mind of an Addict, Daily Thoughts, of just some of the weird ways that my brain thinks, and from talking to a lot of other people, that their brain does too. And it's sad but true. An example I've used hundreds of times, but it's so perfect that if three of us are sitting at a table and one person who's not doesn't suffer with addiction, and me and another person, the guy in the middle does some drugs and he falls on the floor and pretty much overdoses. With the exception of, we need to get him help, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? And whenever I ask somebody who doesn't struggle with addiction or alcoholism, they say that stuff's poison. My brain says that stuff's great. Where can I get some? And that's sad but true. And that's what I got to fight every day. And you do, exactly this. So that's the realness of getting all the different stuff. And same thing with like the videos all about the same different type of topics, ranging from everything. But in the end, I always want people to know that it doesn't matter where you are, how bad you are, how bad you think you are, how many years you've done it, recovery is possible. It absolutely is.
Absolutely. And you know, it does. It really gives a lot of those videos, you know, some of the more difficult ones to watch, but those are, you know, that is what reality is in the life of, you know, somebody who struggles with addiction.
Sure.
And, you know, I guarantee there's people, you know, watching those and just connecting and really grateful that, oh my goodness, there's somebody else that thinks the way I do, you know, and that's
Yeah.
where that connection grows. You know, we have that connection of some of our struggles. And sometimes they look a little bit different, but you know, that's where that connection really grows. So I really just love, it's really cool watching the website, how it's grown too. Kyle's got some other people's their stories shared on there too. And Kyle, yes, my story is on there. Kyle, where else can we find some of your Soberdog social media? What other platforms?
I am Soberdogs, the number 2 on Instagram. Soberdogs Recovery on Facebook group. I got Soberdogs on YouTube. Just type in Soberdogs, should be the first channel that comes up. Soberdogs on TikTok. I got my full name on LinkedIn just as me, but I got, you know, like under levels of Soberdogs. So yeah, some of them I kind of concentrate on more. Not for any specific reason, but it just is a little overwhelming as one person. Yeah. But I'm really active on, you know, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. But all of them. I mean, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on all of them.
Look at you stepping up in the world, joining the TikTok crowd. I did too.
I had to. Yeah, and it is it's such an addicting app too.
It is.
I've sat there and they're all 60-second videos, and I'm sitting there and an hour and a half goes by and I'm like, what did you just do?
I can't tell you how many times that has happened. And, you know, it's funny. I enjoy those videos because they're really just, a lot of them are very comical and they're just goofy stuff. And during this time, even the little goofy stuff like that is something that brings a smile to my face. But I've done the same thing. All of a sudden, 2 hours goes by and I'm like, what the heck happened? So I'm limiting my TikTok these days. Yeah. That's awesome.
You know what's cool about that app is, you know, they said like maybe a year ago it was a lot of younger people, maybe 25 and under. And that's when I started about a year ago. And I have gotten so much good feedback from somebody who either is starting to see that they may have a problem, maybe 17, 18, you know, up to 20, or people whose parents have a problem and they don't ever have anyone to talk to. And it's like, yes, you know, I'm here, text me, email me, can I connect you with somebody out? But like, I don't care who you are, where you are in the world, like there's other people that you can connect with. Even if it's, you found me from a 50-second video, there's, you know, people that can relate, just like you said, that connection. So that's a pretty cool thing to see, you know, to reach out and connect with people.
Absolutely. And, you know, it truly just shows, you know, not only your dedication to your own recovery, but to be there and help and support others and people you don't even know. And that's been one of the gifts of, you know, really the pandemic is, you know, we've all, you know, the majority of people who do have access to it, you know, we're all kind of in this virtual world. And, you know, while it's pain in the butt some days, there is this other silver lining of I've been able to connect with so many more people, people that aren't even in Rochester, you know, people that are in other states and countries. And it's very cool. Yeah. So I just love your dedication, and it's so cool to see how Soberdogs has really expanded. I'm kind of curious, Kyle, you know, just to kind of tap into some of your dreams. Kyle, if there were no limitations, no barriers, you know, what would you envision for a future of Soberdogs? Where would you like to see that grow to? Just let those dreams fly, like no limitations.
That is a very interesting question. As of right now, I'm just in the virtual world. If it was completely no limitations, somehow an active place, maybe probably similar to you guys. If I ever had an active place, it would be pet friendly, workout equipment, you know, saunas and stuff to hang out at, whether that would be just a hangout place or like some type of treatment. I'm not sure. But one of the reasons too, like with the name Soberdogs, is I got some shirts and stuff with it. Yeah. And I want I would love for anybody and everybody who is in recovery or even active addiction or a family member to be able to wear a shirt, whether it's Soberdogs would be the ideal dream, but they're not embarrassed about being a recovering addict. So somehow branch out that and just, I don't know, you extend the reach. You know, I would love to speak on you know, the bigger the better, because to me that might sound like a little bit of an ego statement, and yeah, I don't really mean it to, even though it's, you know, of course there's a little bit inside like, yeah, I'd love to speak to 10,000 people, but more importantly, that's 10,000 people that if 1,000 go home with a positive message or have somebody struggling, so that's where I'd love to take it to really speak in, you know, into kids too. When I say kids, more like high schoolers across the country, just letting them know. Some of you probably know that, you know, you might use substances a little bit different. Talk to people, reach out, connect. It's okay. I don't know if that was a direct answer to your question, but
yeah,
that was kind of the best I got for it right now.
No, that was great. And, you know, it's so cool when we, you know, when we kind of pause for a minute and really envision, you know, our dreams and our goals. And it's cool sometimes to think about if there were no limitations, like, oh man, like how big could I take this? And what I hear you saying is that, you know, I really just want it to grow bigger so that I can connect with people, even having it be a brand. I love that. Those are all such great things. And I truly hope that those come to fruition someday. I would love to see that.
Thank you. You ever seen the movie Hancock with Will Smith?
I have, not in a long time, but yeah, I have.
Well, he's the superhero, and the one guy helps him out, but at the end of the movie, to repay him, he puts the guy's logo on the moon. So that's our biggest Soberdogs on the moon. Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Never stop dreaming. Never stop dreaming to the moon. That would be amazing. Kyle, it's been so wonderful to have you. And I think that you've said it multiple times on here, but if we can just wrap it up, you know, Kyle, what is one strong message that you want to leave people today with, you know, who are struggling right now? This is a really difficult time. This is new times that, you know, none of us have experienced. And there are a lot more people that are really struggling and feeling isolated right now. So what is one message that you really want people to hear today?
You said it earlier, and I know we both said it, is connect with somebody. There is somebody out there who has been through what you have been through or something similar. You may think it's the worst in the world, or maybe you think it's not even that bad, but you're not sure. Somebody has been through it, and reach out. And if you're scared to maybe tell a close friend or family member, use online communities. You could stay more anonymous if you feel uncomfortable. Or I found in the past too that sometimes talking to my family isn't the best option at the time. So I'll reach out to somebody I don't know as well, but that has experience with what I'm dealing with, and it makes it easier to talk to. So counselors, people at ROCovery, a neighbor you know who maybe is in recovery, reach out if you're struggling. Just getting it off your chest and connecting with people opens up the door for, you know, endless possibilities of awesome recovery.
Absolutely. That's it. And that's it right there, you know, is that connection and reaching out. And, you know, it can be a scary thing, you know, but if we can just reach beyond that place of, you know, feeling uncomfortable and afraid, you know, there's help beyond that. And as Kyle said earlier, you know, recovery is most certainly possible and is most certainly out there. So we've got our ROCovery Peer Services phone number right at the bottom of your screen. Oh, it's backwards that way. Yeah. Always wanted to do that, but I did it wrong. So please reach out. We're here. We can help get you connected. We'd love to hear from you. And Kyle, thank you so much for joining me. It's been so amazing to get to know you these past couple of years, to see your own journey grow, really. And you know, I always love, you know, you and I doing videos together. It makes me happy, and I love that we're both able to, you know, get out there and educate people and support people. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you for having me on. ROCovery is the rock of the recovery community. That is a fact. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sober Dogs. And everyone, I hope you have an awesome Saturday and enjoy the beautiful day. And yeah, continue to tune into the rest of our videos and make sure you check out the Sober Dogs website.
Yeah.
Guys, bye.
See ya.